I was mistaken. There actually is a bug with Ike's 4 iron swords, but it wasn't what I thought it would be, so let's take a look. Thanks to some comments on the last video, there actually seems to be a bug where Ike doesn't get his 4 iron swords when you watch the visit tutorial. Even if you exit it early, just watching it or part of it is enough to not give Ike his 4 iron swords. So what's going on there? Well, let's recap the first part of the code where Ike gets his iron swords. In this case, we add the item iron sword to his inventory, that's the first one, and then we get callback 0x6, this is at the start of turn, and it goes from turn 1 until turn 1 on 0, the player phase. We get Ike and we give him 3 extra iron swords. It's also just an enclosed callback, nothing is interacting with this. So why is it not working when we watch the visit tutorial? I think I know why, and it has to do with where this is placed. It's not placed with the rest of the callback 0x6. So here I have another callback 0x6. It also happens from turn 1 until turn 1 at the start of player phase, but this one happens at 1106, so this one happens before the iron swords. Here we get a part, tutorial unlock. We get the prompt if we want to watch the visit tutorial, and if we select yes, we will run that tutorial. Now, the tutorial isn't listed here, it's listed a little bit further down the line, which is at this definition. This definition is pretty much just the code that runs when you have the visit tutorial going. This happens at 2445. Why is this important? I think there's two possibilities. Let's start with the first scenario where you just don't watch the tutorial and the code just continues on from where we are now, 1146. It goes down, we encounter another callback 0x6, which will give Ike his iron swords. Everything works as intended. So, what happens if we move into watching the tutorial? I think it doesn't really have to do with watching the tutorial itself, but with how the tutorial exits. What I think might be happening is that when you exit the tutorial, the game places you into a different state than it actually should. Instead of placing you into a state where the controller is still bound, you can't use the buttons, and it continues running the code, it then would eventually encounter the code for Ike's 4 iron swords. Instead, it places you into a state where you can already use your controller. It places you into a state where you can just start playing the game as the player, so no code is running at that time. That's one of my theories. The other one is that when you go into this tutorial, we actually run a definition. And let's visit this tutorial to visit. There's 3 instances of it in this code. The first one is to actually run it. And then this is where we run it, which is at line 2445. And then eventually we get a dialogue result. This is, do you want to watch the tutorial again? What I think could also happen is that it just keeps running the code from here and it keeps going down. But that would mean we're at line 2517. That means that we have skipped, essentially, the line 1400, so that's not happening anymore. And I think that might also be what's happening. I'm banking on the first one because there are a couple of things that still should happen at any point in time after you exit the tutorial that should be in between the 1146 and the 1400 of Ike's 4 iron swords, but these are my 2 guesses. So that is pretty much the bug. When you watch the tutorial, it skips a part of the code, the one where you should get Ike's 4 iron swords, or instead it places your controller into a state where you're able to play and it isn't able to run any code anymore because you have agency over the game. We'll never know 100% certain. All we know is that there is actually a bug, but it wasn't Ike getting his 4 iron swords, it's actually Ike not getting his 4 iron swords. And that's all for now. I'm curious if there's any other things in Path of Radiance or Radiant Dawn, rumors that you may have heard or things that you might think are misinformation. Let me know in the comments below and maybe I'll make a couple of more videos of these. I like removing some misinformation on the internet. That's all for now. Thanks for watching and Sal out.